Shocking news for many today, and really bad news for many who are interested in getting citizenship in Europe, as the Portuguese government has just announced they are shutting down the entirety of the Golden Visa program. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what they just announced, what we can expect, what we still don't know, and what is coming up, as well as what other options you might have available to you, as well as what you should be considering for the future. I'm also going to mention a little bit about some other bad news that came up, and so stick around to the end to hear about that. Before we do, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the all notification bell. Thank you for being here. Welcome. I'm Michael with Offshore Citizen. We are global international tax and relocation, immigration, etc. specialists. We help you to figure out where the best place in the world to relocate is, if you want to optimize your global tax, if you want to have more freedom, if you want to have a more plan B, if you're interested in just frankly improving your quality of life or living internationally. If you'd like help with any of those things, please reach out to us. You can book a call with me, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer. There's a link in the description below, or you can send a message through offshorecitizen.net and we'll be happy to help you there. Okay, let's dive in and talk about this. So we had heard a little while ago, and I'd done a video previously about how they'd mentioned they may be ending the Portuguese Golden Visa. It was uncertain when that would happen or what they would announce, etc. However, they have officially announced it now. What they have more or less said is that what they've discussed as part of a larger process to try and keep housing prices down, or rather to bring housing prices down. For just some context for you, Portugal is the poorest of the Western European countries. The average person makes less than €1,000 a month, and just last year, rents rose in Lisbon by about 37%. So big increases make it unaffordable. There's a lot of political pressure for them to do something about this, and the Golden Visa is seen as being one of the things that is going on there. So they're trying to combat that, and so they're restricting the amount of Airbnbs that can be in place. They are ending the Golden Visa in its entirety. This includes the fund option. This includes the real estate investment options. This includes everything, even after the changes that they had made starting in the start of 2022. They found that didn't do enough, at least for them, and therefore they are making some changes. And these changes, unfortunately, mean no more Golden Visa. Now, what this means for people who are already in there is supposedly they will continue to process applications that have already been filed. So people who have not filed applications will not be able to get in. People who already have filed applications hopefully should be going through. They said some are going to be being processed in the next little while, and there will be some other legislation to follow. So that's bad news for those of you who don't understand the context here. The really important thing is that the Portuguese Golden Visa was really the main way that you could get EU citizenship without actually being a full-time resident in the EU. This was really excellent for people from, say, the US who wanted to work on a longer-term path to getting citizenship and being able to exit onto a good passport. The only other real option for people is the Maltese Citizenship by Investment program, which may become more popular now, but it's super expensive. By contrast, you'd put in 280 to 500,000 euros invested in Portugal versus about $900,000 between donation, 900,000 euros between donation and fees for Malta. So certainly something that we continue to help people with and is one path, but this was really a very, very attractive program. And so for people who have missed out, that's not very good at all. Hopefully, they will do as they've suggested, which is honoring the existing applications. I've seen the delays have grown quite a bit in the last year on Golden Visa applications, and so a lot of people are very, very backlogged. So hopefully they're going to work through those. They have stated that they will continue to renew existing applications, so that's good. Hopefully people who are already in the program will not lose out. But I think this circles back to a very, very important point, which I have mentioned a number of times, which is when there are good programs available, you should take them while they are available, because you do not know how long these programs will last. Now in this case, Golden Visa lasted about 10 years. And so, that was a reasonable window, but a lot of people were not really thinking about it at the time. The program wasn't as publicized. It kind of gained steam as it went. And, that was the way that it is. So the programs that you can take advantage of now, you should take advantage of them. This goes everywhere in the world. because, especially if they're ones that are permanent, because you do not know what will happen. There are some other things I mentioned before, some other bad news that is coming out, and so I'll update you on that in a future video. But a few things that you should be aware of here. So first of all, if you are interested in residency in the EU, you certainly can still obtain this. You can still obtain it in Portugal. You can get a D7 visa or similar. We help people with those. You can get them in Spain. They still have the Spanish Golden Visa, although frankly the Spanish Golden Visa is not that good. There are options in Italy, there are options in Malta, there are options in Cyprus, although Cyprus is not Schengen, so it's a little less attractive. Croatia, which has recently joined the Schengen zone, may become a more interesting place to start playing with. Perhaps the most interesting one right now for people who are interested is actually Hungary. If you can, this doesn't lead to citizenship, unfortunately, but if you want Schengen access without having to have a minimum presence requirement, then that's one way to go that's pretty reasonable and will get you in there. Of course, digital nomad visas have expanded quite a bit over the last couple of years. And so as a result, there are certainly a lot more options for people who want to be there temporarily. But if you're looking for something permanent and long-term, this was really one of the more attractive ways. What this is going to unfortunately mean is that if you want to get the citizenship in Portugal, it's going to mean being tax resident. You didn't have to be tax resident before. So something to keep in mind. Unfortunately, there's just not really any other options in terms of being able to not be tax resident in the EU and still get the EU citizenship at this point in time. And if you look at something like Hungary, if you spend the time there, you still have to learn the language, and Hungarian is a terrible language to try and, well, not terrible, it's a difficult language to try and learn, and so not necessarily a great option for you. You may want to consider other parts of the world. There's definitely other places to look at. You can look at Korea. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the future. You can look at UAE. You can look at Paraguay. You can look at some of the other Latin American countries. There are some reasonable citizenship options there, although they do require some physical presence. You can look at where there are unofficial programs and what you can take advantage of in that regard. Bottom line, though, is it is definitely getting harder, and there's definitely a move to close things down. And we'll see how long that lasts, but clearly what you've got right now in a place like Portugal is you have a lot of pressure from a kind of socialist government. I've mentioned this previously for the last number of years, that I figured Portugal was probably getting lucky rather than being smart. And I think we're kind of starting to see bit by bit the policies creep in, which suggest that that is indeed true. It wasn't like they had these very forward-thinking, wonderful policies that were making it a great place for lots of people to move, and people were moving there and taking advantage of the rules, etc. It was more like they just didn't understand what they were doing when they were planning the rules. And so, unfortunately, that means they're unlikely to reproduce it. We'll find out. Maybe we'll get lucky. But with the current government in power, I would find that unlikely. So anyway, let me know what you guys are thinking. Tell me in the comments below about where places you're checking out are that might be interesting places to relocate to. If you'd like help, please reach out to us, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.